Hey, this week on the Shooting Straight Wrestling Podcast, SmackDown finds a new home, Raw gets ready to get extreme, and Stone Cold clears the air. This and more when we come back.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo! This the man! What the Rock! Oh, Cookie at Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Hey, welcome back to the Shooting Straight Wrestling Podcast. I'm Brian Brown.
And I'm the Red Scorpion, Mike Martinez.
Hey, so, how was your week this week?
Pretty good. A little productive, more productive than last week, but...
Yeah, well, I guess, it was good. I had a good week. Definitely our weeks were probably better than this week's Raw and wrestling state of affairs.
Thinking the same thing, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a happy Easter. Hope you guys did too.
Yeah, Easter was awesome. Took the kids, did the whole Easter egg hunt thing, and Easter Bunny paid us a visit. So.
Right on. We went up to Vegas and we saw the Easter Bunny at Caesar's Palace. Believe it or not, he was not wearing a toga. But
not like good old JR.
Yeah. But it was a good week. Other than that.
Yeah. I heard. I saw on Facebook you watched some Ring of Honor while you were up in Vegas.
Oh yeah. Actually, we talked about wrestling being light, but that was WWE. ROH was pretty much off the hook. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It was my first actual weekly show. It's too bad that we can't get it here in Kingman. But it was a good show. Yeah,
that's what we were kind of talking about. Maybe we need to start watching it online and kind of incorporating.
I'm totally going to try to get into it now a lot more. We were just both talking how much better the product is just by one episode that I watched, and then you went to the live show.
And they're are they half hour or hour episodes?
I think it was an hour episode.
Yeah, I mean an hour. I think honestly the 3 hours of Raw kills me. The 1 hour, you do what you need to do. You get all your information and. It's definitely it's a great show. If you guys haven't checked out Ring of Honor, I definitely would highly recommend it.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. We got some news, some rumors to get into, as well as the WrestleMania Hangover edition of Raw. You want to get into that?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, we'll be back with Raw. All right, so we're going to jump into Raw for the week of 4/6/2015. And for me, like I said, I watched it live while I was playing. It's kind of I would call it almost a lame duck type of show.
I gave it a B+ rating only because some of the matches were pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it got that rating. Other than that, it was...
I'm happy to see Ryback getting a little bit of a push too.
And I know we've talked about it consistently on this show, but having a pretty steady level of competitors in each division.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's great that he's kind of getting up there.
And I really, I did enjoy that they were doing a #1 contenders match. I think I like that. It kind of feeds into...
It makes much more sense than back in the WCW days when everybody got a title match for absolutely no reason. You qualified for a title match back in them days by losing to somebody the week before.
Yeah.
So I love when they do #1 contender matches or battle royals or whatever for it.
And so we'll get into more on that. Randy Orton came on top of that, but we'll just start off. Raw started off with those long segments that they normally do. I kind of miss. I know they did it in the pay-per-views, so I don't want to stumble myself. WCW days, I think. A lot of Nitros, they would start out with that cruiserweight match.
Oh, man.
And they would kind of set the tone for the whole show instead of having a segment where the guys are speaking for 45 minutes.
That's how their pay-per-views were a lot back in the day, because they went to a lot of WCW pay-per-views, and that was the same way. It was a good filler to get you into it and get you started and get your butts in seats and kind of stay there from then on.
Yeah. So, I wasn't, I don't know. The segment was what it was.
Basically, Seth put everyone over except for Kane. Basically, jokingly, Kane did nothing. Just basically put the rest of them over.
Yeah, and then that would lead on to, I guess, Kane's revenge for the rest of the show.
As director of operations.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hearing, Steph and Triple H are off air.
Yeah.
I was reading today that they're expecting Steph to be gone for a whole month. Like I don't know what she has going on, but
Wow, I didn't read into that.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
almost be a blessing from a standpoint of my ear's sake, but from her being so constant and consistent every week, it's going to be kind of like, really? I mean, what are we going to do without her in a way? you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we went from there. What were some of the highlights for you?
In terms of that
No,
first segment.
just Raw in
Overall,
general. Yeah,
there was some
there
good.
wasn't a ton of.
there was some good matches. Let's just cut into it. The first match basically was Randy, or I take it back. Kane had set up a three-way match between Randy Orton, Ryback, and Roman Reigns to become the #1 contender. Whoever wins,
Which is for a Raw,
Extreme
that
Rules.
actually is a pretty good match.
And
yeah.
and it's weird because I thought on SmackDown he already deemed Randy Orton the #1 contender.
Yeah, I
but then
thought so too, yeah.
They had this match, but that's okay. And then instead of just the three-way dance, later on they were going to each be competing in a one-on-one. Randy Orton would fight Kane right then and there. Ended up winning by disqualification. The Authority, as always, got involved. And then was that Brad Maddox backstage
Yeah.
talking to Kane right
Yeah,
away?
it was, yeah.
I was like,
Trying to weasel a job.
because yeah, right when I started watching WWE again, Brad Maddox was the general manager, and he was kind of here and there, and sometimes he was a wrestler. He was
Yeah.
in first Andre Battle Royal last year, right?
Yeah, and then he was like a crooked referee for when I think it was during the CM Punk when he had the title, and I think he screwed over Ryback, and then the Shield screwed over Ryback the next time.
Oh wow!
But yeah, it was.
I didn't catch all that, but anyways, I noticed that, and then him and Kane, they had some beef right when Brad went off the show originally. They written him off. But anyway, so Kane and Seth go at it, and then like you said, Kane kind of set up Seth for a mystery opponent in a match right then and there. And that was the second match, Seth Rollins, non-title versus Neville.
Neville. I thought Neville looked great. I didn't realize how short Neville was.
I did when I watched NXT, and he was fighting Sion?
Yeah.
Or
Sami Zayn?
yeah, Zayn. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That, I realized he was a short guy there, but he actually looked really good in this match.
He did. They work very well together too.
He reminds me of a common era Jeff Hardy I wrote down here. Just not so much so death-defying, because obviously in this era it's toned down, but I definitely see a lot of that resemblance in his reckless abandon type of attitude, and his character and his moves and things like that. And I think that this was a really good match, and Seth Rollins really needed a good match too.
He did.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Where do you think? How do you think Neville fits in the roster? Like after his debut, he's going to cool down a little bit, like they all do. Where do you see him falling? Where's his place?
I still think that he'll be in the title contention. I'm not sure which one, because they're really elevating the U.S. and Intercontinental titles.
Love to see a Daniel Bryan Neville feud.
Oh man, that would be a really good match. And who knows? I mean, like you said, they usually die down a little bit. I think that giving him Seth Rollins in his second week ever on the main roster was awesome.
Did you watch him a lot during NXT, or I love NXT, don't get me wrong, but as far as I'm not a devoted watcher as much as I probably should be.
Same here.
Yeah. How is he on the microphone, cutting promos, or?
Not all that great from what I remember. I didn't even remember, but I think JBL pointed out that he's actually got a British accent, so I didn't even realize that. So he didn't really get put on the mic too much. I did see.
I'm just wondering for future, if
and I think Booker T may have said it, or maybe he was talking about someone else. Maybe he was talking about Ryback actually, but he mentioned needing a coach or needing a voice, a mouthpiece out there. And maybe he wasn't talking about Neville now that I think about it, but Neville probably would benefit from somebody like that. I'm not sure who that person could be or would be, but he definitely needs a talker. I did see some of his matches. I seen the first ever NXT TakeOver when WWE Network came out. And yeah, I've seen a couple of his matches over there, and his matches are great. I definitely think the promos are going to be his downfall.
Yeah, just, if they protect him. I mean, Rusev isn't.
True. There you go. There's a good example. He got Lana as a mouthpiece.
Yeah, and they protected him, his gimmick and everything. So, I mean, if they kind of.
I think Neville's going to fit in. He's going to be kind of like we debate over who's going to fit in from NXT here on the main roster, and I think that Neville will definitely transition pretty well just because of his style and bringing that new. I think you just mentioned it when WCW used to start with the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
Bring Neville in to get the crowd going on a Raw. you know, even if we have to listen to Authority for 5 or 10 minutes, get him in one of the first matches, and people get kind of pumped up about it, I think.
Yeah, you set the tone for the whole show that way.
Oh yeah, and then like I said, Seth Rollins needed a good match, and not that his match with Orton wasn't bad or was really bad or anything at WrestleMania.
Just a different style,
But,
because
yeah, he
Rollins is he can do so many things.
When I first started watching WWE again in 2012, and I seen the Shield, and I was just watching how Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose were just the brawlers, and then Seth was just flying all over the place on people. I was like, oh, this guy's
When he was in
really
Ring
good.
of Honor, man, he was Tyler Black, and he was high flying,
See, I didn't
great
catch
moves.
any of that stuff, so I completely missed a lot of the beginnings.
You know, we're going to get off topic, but I would love to see Ring of Honor do something even online, like a network, because, I mean, their history, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, I mean, they have a lineage, or what is it?
Lineage.
Yeah, lineage. That goes back far. I mean, I would pay to watch some of those matches online. You
Absolutely,
know,
I would too. And like we said, top of the show is definitely going to try to devote some more time to getting ROH in our weekly lineup, and definitely presenting it on the show, because it definitely deserves to be here.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we had the U.S. title match. John Cena ended up taking on Stardust. I thought the match started really slow, kind of sloppy, but it ended up being a pretty good match after a while.
I think I noticed Stardust. Is that a new jacket he's wearing, or?
Yeah,
I think we're going to be stuck with the Stardust persona for quite some time.
Yeah, he's got a new outfit.
You know, I wouldn't despise him so much if he would just eliminate that cat hiss at the very beginning. I think for whatever, a human doing a cat hiss is just so abrasive to me, and I think that just needs to go.
What sucks about Cody Rhodes is he's a really good wrestler, and he was one of the first people that I noticed too when I first started watching again. Is how well he worked in the ring.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I'm sure him and John Cena worked a lot, and I haven't got caught up on a lot of the missing years in between where I stopped watching. I'm sure they've worked before.
Yeah.
But this match on Raw, like I said, started slow, but it ended up being really good. And John Cena did this weird springboard stunner and set him up for the AA. And I was like, wow, you know, John Cena actually is looking better. And I think it's because I know he mentioned on the Chris Jericho podcast that he didn't. He's not trying. He doesn't care where he is on the card. He's not trying to say he deserves to be here, he deserves to be there, or whatever. He just wants to bring credibility to what he's doing, and I think that's important because that title has not had that credibility for a while. And it's important. And they mention it every single week. JBL mentions how many Hall of Famers, 20-something Hall of Famers have held the U.S. title, from Harley Race to...
You know, JBL got on my last nerves this week. He has that stupid look on his face. And if I had to hear he had surgery one freaking time with a big grin, I had surgery this week. Who cares? You know, come on.
He really tore into Byron Saxton this week, and he gave him a hard time. And I thought that kind of sucked because we were talking about this last week, how he kind of jumped in there and did the best that he could possibly do.
Yeah.
But JBL was giving him kind of a rough time. Anyways, the match ended up being pretty good. Then we went on to Paige and Naomi versus the Bella Twins.
Yeah, and so they're definitely building up Naomi for a title shot.
Yeah, and I think later on in segment 2, we might as well just say it. It's a little bit later on than where I'm going out of order, but Natty, Summer Rae, Alicia Fox, and Cameron came in to Kane and asked for a women's battle royal so they can all kind of show that it's not just Naomi and Paige that deserve a title shot. And so I think we're going to see that either next week or here pretty soon. But definitely putting them back on the map with AJ going out. This is important, and I was kind of hoping Charlotte would kind of step up in that role.
Yeah,
here
we'll
pretty
see.
soon,
Yeah, you know, they might be waiting until SummerSlam-ish time. You know,
possibly.
Yeah.
But I know, like we've been saying, Vince is ready to see her on the main roster, and I think a lot of people are at this point.
Yeah,
and I think
definitely am.
Really, with they're pushing the Naomi thing, and I think that's great because I actually not like Naomi. I've seen her kind of really rise in terms of her in-ring work, so I think she kind of deserves it. And once that's done and over, whether she wins or loses, I think she needs a pretty good person to work with, and it'd be nice to see a fresh face.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then there was the Primetime Players making fun of the New Day and the Ascension this time. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did catch that. I got a chuckle out of it. I like to see the Primetime Players make more of an impact. I think Tyson Kidd and Cesaro versus primetime players, you could do some pretty decent matches there.
I think so. I think the primetime players they kind of got shoved in our face when they first came in. That's another team that was pretty hot and heavy when I first started watching again, and then they got really annoying pretty quickly. But they kind of quietly brought them back, and now they're really letting them do some stuff. I like their T-shirts. Did you notice it's the old primetime wrestling style?
I did see that.
I thought that was awesome.
That is cool.
But yeah, they're funny, and I'm glad that they made fun of New Day too, and we'll find out a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got that written down too.
There was Ryback versus Luke Harper. That was another one of the matches that Kane said that one of the people in three-way had to do. Decent match for two big guys.
Yeah, Ryback going over clean too.
It was not a squash, but it was a decent match. Ended up going over with Shell Shock. And then Renee Young decides to interview the New Day and find out what's going on with the New Day Sucks.
Yeah, so would you say it's...
My bad.
Oh,
destroying the property.
Yeah.
It's coming out of my chest.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you think that's a heel turn? We just witnessed your heel turn right here. Oh, my God. No, so what do you think? You think it's an official heel turn for New Day?
It's definitely coming, and I know that.
And then during their match, see Xavier Woods kind of interfering a little bit where normally they had never done that.
He kind of looked like, all right, I think this is the way we need to go. And then Big E talking about how he signed a kid's autograph.
No, he never. That's the thing I got out of that because I was in the other room and I came back and I caught half of it, so I rewound it and watched it again. And he never actually said that he signed it. He said he could sign it because he has, and
he just claps.
He's I am capable of signing it, but I did.
Gotcha. I didn't. I play on words. I did not catch that. That's actually. I think they need to turn heel, and they don't need to. We talked about this last week. They don't need to do a Nation of Domination. No. They got their own special thing going on, and I think they need to feed off of it, and they need to be heels.
Yeah.
If they're going to get over,
I think that's definitely the way it's going. That's what I have in my notes. I was going to ask you if you feel that's a full-fledged heel turn or if they're still teasing it.
No, they're not officially heels as of yet. I think it's coming though.
Yeah.
That was the start of it, and I think it's the way it needs
to
go.
And they put them against a face team too.
Yeah. So and that was New Day versus the Lucha Dragons.
Yeah.
Pretty decent match. Lucha Dragons seem to really be getting over, and Cesaro and Tyson were watching them backstage. Yeah. So I think they're really building up.
I think
that
those would be a program that I definitely want to see. I think, and it's awesome to see. I think Kalisto, that's his name. I think they're missing out on Rey Mysterio since he left. I think he could really step up in that spot. He has the mask. I mean, merchandise-wise, Mysterio's always been up in the top 5. So I think you got your new face of
exactly,
Lucha.
and it's not something that has to be consistent because it's a tag team, so it's not something we're going to get bored of. And I think they really kind of did that with Rey. Instead of being more of a featured in one particular division, they kind of just threw him to us too much, and I think that's what happened to his popularity.
Yeah.
And I think that with them being in a tag team and them being right where we're at right now, very good teamwork and very good in-ring work, I think that it's gonna play out pretty well as long as they keep doing it right.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, I think.
I was excited about it. And then next was Roman Reigns versus Big Show in Roman Reigns' match.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a Roman Reigns win with the spear.
Yeah, we've seen that match for the last 2 months, 3 months, a million times. It was what it was. It was a lead up to,
the main event match, basically. And then, of course, like I said, the Divas or ladies went in there and begged Kane for a battle royal. And then Sheamus came out with new theme music.
Yeah.
And with his new look, which we already knew. And then he kind of cut a promo on the little fellas, which I thought was great. And he wanted to...
I liked, and I don't know if you were watching it during the time when Sheamus first debuted, he had a run with Triple H. He, I believe... the best Sheamus thing, it was the night after WrestleMania when Shawn Michaels lost to Undertaker and he was retiring, and they did a special thing on that Raw. Triple H comes out there and he's cutting a promo about how, you know, him and Shawn Michaels, they fought together, they did this, and he, you know, he was getting emotional, and right when he was getting emotional, Sheamus came out of nowhere and bro kicked him. So you thought you were going to get this shoot interview type of thing with Triple H getting emotional, and then he got so much like crowd heat from that. Like that's when Sheamus was the first thing as a heel, he was great. Like I loved him.
WrestleMania 26 in Phoenix, we weren't religiously watching WWE yet again, and we went to it and we saw Sheamus versus Triple H for the WWE title. Yeah. At the time, I think Triple H was the champ and he went over in the match. And that was the first time I'd ever seen Sheamus. So that was interesting. I've come to really like Sheamus. I think he's awesome.
We went to a Raw in Vegas, and the guys behind me had mentioned that Sheamus looks like a lit joint. I never. So if you look with the red hair and the white body, if you so that's a visual for you folks. So, and I'm sure I probably will throw something down there. But yeah, he definitely has a unique look. But yeah, heel Sheamus I like. I don't know why they ever turned him face or.
It's just one of those things. Everybody's got to get a run, and we've been beating the death out of Roman Reigns needing to turn heel. And just having a good heel run, and I think that it's good for Sheamus too.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
He definitely needs it. He ended up fighting Mark Henry, went over with the bro kick.
Yeah.
And I mean it wasn't a great match, you know, for what it was. No build up or anything, but whatever. Then Bray Wyatt appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of an odd promo,
another
right?
sneaky promo, kind of sneaky and creepy, and talking about fear. But who was he calling out this time? So they didn't really.
Yeah.
I like this because this is what they should have done last week with him. He should have done one of these last week, so he would have at least been on a good Raw. And build up to whatever they are. It's just his presence is needed because he's on that level to where he has to be on the card somehow.
Yeah. Yeah,
you think he's talking about Sting, or
I don't know.
It's too early
to tell. Yeah. You know, I would like to see him. I was actually just thinking, what would you think about him and a Seth Rollins? I mean, you could really turn. I mean, he's a tweener. Like he could be face or
And they did have the Shield and Wyatt family feud there for a while.
Yeah. I think that would be a good. Or even Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt.
I think
because I mean, if you're getting Rollins and Orton, and I'm assuming it's not just going to be a one-off at Extreme Rules, they're probably going to go into a couple matches. Why not do a Bray Wyatt Roman Reigns? You know, maybe Bray Wyatt wants to. You know, you're not mean enough, Roman Reigns. I'm going to teach you. Kind of like remember what he did with Cena during last year WrestleMania. Yeah, you know, do that kind of.
I would enjoy it. I think at this point I would enjoy Bray doing pretty much anything at this point now. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited how the WrestleMania match turned out. So now I'm happy again. But and then there was Damien Mizdow versus The Miz. Now you think this was too early?
Yeah, I do. It almost was like there wasn't even any build up for it on Raw. They're just like, up next is.
Yeah, to me it just kind of killed it because Damien Mizdow lost.
Yeah.
And Miz won
I
noticed, by hooking the tights.
During the commentary they kept bringing up Damien Sandow, not Mizdow. Like they brought up his Money in the Bank and how that was a failure and stuff. So maybe they're getting ready to go back to.
JBL is just he was a nobody. He was a nobody. I mean.
I would, if JBL left the commentary thing, I'd be okay with it.
He was not a nobody. Oh my God! That time it did it on its own. You guys are all my witness to that.
It was the ghost, the Kukui.
Damien Mizdow or Sandow, when he first came in, like I said, I enjoyed that gimmick.
I did too. I don't know why it wasn't more successful or why they nixed it.
But the way that JBL makes it seem is as if he came in as Miz's stunt double, and that's where he started in WWE. Yeah. And that's so I hate when they do that stupid stuff like that. So hopefully there's more to it. Like I said, Miz did hook the trunks to win. So we'll see. I just thought it was too early for that match.
Yeah, definitely, especially a win, a clean. I know it wasn't clean because mean, still it was a pretty.
Yeah, and it was a pinfall and not a DQ or something, and then the fans are just going to be like, we're investing our time.
It really cooled it. Yeah, it cooled it off. Yeah, definitely.
I was a little disappointed. Next, we had the main event, which was the triple threat: Ryback versus Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. Winner goes to.
Which was actually a decent match. Like,
it was surprisingly a good match for a three-way between three guys and And that's, you mentioned it earlier, Ryback's work is come a long way.
Yeah.
Since,
You know what I really enjoyed was when Ryback was getting ready to do the shell shock and Randy Orton was behind him mocking him,
Oh, yeah.
and then ended up giving him the RKO. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good because there was a good 4 or 5 seconds where he's doing, you know.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was great. You know, the Authority came down, you know, J&J Security distracted Ryback, and then Orton hit the RKO for the win. And then Seth laid out Randy Orton with the curb stop and basically left holding the belt high, which was not a bad way to end it because I think Seth needed to have, he needs to be, like I said last week, he needs to be the guy. They've been beating it forever.
You know, I think what they're going to go with him, he's going to be, and don't get me wrong, because let me explain, a Ric Flair type of heel to where he barely gets away with the win after win. You know, he's not going to be like a Brock Lesnar heel where he dominates. He's going to be the, you know, I'm barely holding on to this title. It's, you know, my security. It's the Authority. It's everything that's, you know, helping me get, you know, advance to the next level. Exactly. I think that's exactly the type of heel he's going to be, and that's great for him.
They need it. I think they need it for right now, especially in Brock Lesnar's absence. So I'm not against it. So that was Raw.
Yeah, it was, you know, a decent show. Like I said, a lot of people were in Europe, a lot of talent. So that's why you saw like Roman Reigns and them wrestle twice.
And that could be why they maybe threw the Miz and Mizdow out of nowhere in some of these matches.
Yeah, had to make the most of what they had. So,
that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. So what's your rating on it?
I said it was a B+, and mainly because some of the matches, like the John Cena Stardust match and the ladies match was really good.
You know what I'm noticing too is I'm noticing they are starting to do a lot more wrestling, like instead of just segment matches and stuff.
Ever since the Triple H podcast.
Yeah, they're like Cena's wrestling more. Like, it's actually wrestling matches, and the quality of matches are improving.
Vince McMahon once said that he does not have pro wrestlers; he has sports entertainers. And some of the wrestlers like CM Punk, John Cena. I noticed on did you ever get that Raw after hours or whatever? It's a DVD. It shows all the clippings after Raw went off the air. I got it. It's pretty interesting, and I know that they would say wrestler, and they would say it like that when they were talking and doing whatever interview they were. And
that's a taboo word today.
Yeah, so I think that Triple H kind of hit a nerve, but in a good way. Yeah. And so, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, like I said, the next month or two is really going to tell where the year's going to go.
Exactly.
All right, so we got some news and rumors to get into next. Stay tuned, and we'll get right back to you. All right, we're back and ready to get into some news and rumors. Kind of a little bit of a slow week, but we got some things to touch on.
Exactly, and if we could, I'd kind of, in the news portion of this, wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind, just let me go over the ROH that I saw on 4/4/15. I'll just read the results out real quick. Michael Elgin went over on Will Ferreira. War Machine went over on Anthony Green.
What do you think of War Machine?
War Machine is all right. I thought at first when I saw them that they were the Highlanders. I remember the Highlanders, but when I saw them actually work, I realized they weren't because they were good workers. But I like them.
Yeah, he was in the one with the beard, but
I didn't catch their singles names.
Yeah, he was in that main event up at the anniversary show. Right, yeah, he was in the 4-way, and I actually held his own. He did good. Yeah, that's the first time I had ever seen him.
I liked their work, and I actually compared some of the.
Oh, he's Warbeard.
Warbeard.
Yeah, Warbeard. That's his name actually.
I didn't catch it because I was just watching the match. They went over on Green and Zagami. I think I got it down here. I couldn't really pronounce the name. And then Michael Elgin came out and challenged him to a 2-on-1 handicap match that he ended up getting squashed in. War Machine went over. ACH went over on QT Marshall. The match was kind of, I mean, it was okay. Just, you could tell that
it's their mid guys.
Yeah, they're definitely not quite there yet. And then the main event was AJ Styles versus Mark Briscoe. No titles.
So it's the first time you're seeing Mark Briscoe? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think? Different, right?
Yeah, he cut a promo earlier in the show on Samoa Joe, and he was talking like everyone that knows me knows I'm from Eastside Stockton, and so if you know Eastside Stockton, for my friends and family that are watching this, you know that this, you know how they talk and how they act and how they are over there. Okay, well, Mark Briscoe is a Eastside Stockton kind of person. And I think that would be more like a Butler Kingman area over here. I'm not sure what they have in Needles.
You know what the Briscoe brothers remind me of? Like, not so much the persona, but just the way they are. They remind me of the UFC, the Diaz brothers.
Oh,
like they're like not the way they act, but they're brothers, and they both are kind of tough, and they're both like
Nick Diaz is from Stockton.
It made me think of that when you said that.
That was interesting, but I liked his work. I thought he was pretty good. He said something to the along the lines of, "Last time you saw me, Samoa Joe, 10 years ago, I was a skinny white boy." Well, basically, he's still a skinny white boy. He's just got some tats on. He's got a belt. But other than that, no, it was a good match, though. I liked the work. It went 14 minutes. AJ Styles looked good. Yeah, I don't think he's lost a step.
No.
I just think he's doing a lot better here than what TNA was doing with him after they went.
Yeah, and he's doing all that stuff in New Japan, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the IWGP champion.
Yeah.
And
then you know what? I'm gonna try to find it. If I can't find it, now I'm knocking the mics over. Look at me. I'm gonna try to find it. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. We've been hearing a lot about the Invasion Attack New Japan show. AJ Styles and Kota Bashi. Kota Bashi. It was a great finish. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been hearing a lot about it. It was a Phoenix Splash into the Styles Clash.
I can't imagine it in my mind, so...
Yeah, I'm going to try to get that on our screen down below.
Looking forward to checking it out.
I haven't been able to find it, but hopefully we'll be able to. But yeah, he's doing awesome in New Japan.
And I enjoyed his work over here. And then they plugged the Supercard Honor 9 showcase, which is going to feature Jay Briscoe and Samoa Joe for the ROH title, and then Jay Lethal and Juice and Thunder Liger for the TV title.
Nice.
So I was really happy about that card, and it was only 1 week of action, but I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely.
And you know what? I think Jay Lethal's he's held the TV title for a year now. I just read. Yeah, and he's he reminds me a lot of that Shane Douglas, ECW kind of mainstay. Like he's really.
He was a good wrestler.
Franchise player.
I liked the Black Machismo gimmick. I don't know, maybe I just missed the Macho Man in TNA days, but I thought he was definitely a player. And then when they got rid of him, that's when I knew TNA was really not thinking correctly. But anyways, that's my news I wanted to start off with.
And we'll start covering a lot more Ring of Honor too.
I think that would be a good thing. And then we'll kind of go over the whole. We talked about last week how Stone Cold was not going to be on the podcast anymore on the WWE Network, and that he was not at WrestleMania, even though there was some creative plans for him. And so we found out that. Well, this is from the Bleacher Report. This is where I heard it from. That McMahon was pissed at Stone Cold because of the mention to Triple H on the podcast with Triple H of why do you think China will go into
the fact that they brought up China. And then I guess there was some backlash later on about that China went on Vince Russo's show and mentioned something about a fight. Yeah. And then I guess that caused Triple H to actually have to release a WWE statement on it, so it all tied in together.
They were upset because she did some porn in the past, and I know that somebody mentioned somewhere along the line, if you were to go by everybody's past, there wouldn't be a lot of Hall of Famers inducted right now. They'd be kicked out. Triple H would have some skeletons brought out of his closet. McMahon had the steroid case in '94. You know, if you want to talk about things that people want to regret, and whether he did or didn't, he was acquitted, but it was still there. A lot of people said that he did. So, I mean, everybody's got a past, but you got to remember that when you
Tammy Stitch. Sonny.
Exactly. When you signify what they've done in the wrestling business, at least in WWE, and they did a hell of a lot, and they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, that's really where their focus should be. And this extra stuff, they put Medusa in, and they had beef with her forever.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a thin line there because, like with Sonny, I know during her real low days, her and Missy
really low days.
Her and Missy Hyatt were actually selling topless photos and stuff of them, and I don't think it was a full-on porn video by any means. And see, that's there's that thin line because then, sex tape is one thing too that gets released, but China did straight up hardcore for-profit porn. It wasn't like, hey, we're just selling topless photos or, so and what Triple H said did make a little, it was very excusey, but what if a kid jumps online, Googles China, what's the first thing that's going to pop up? It won't be WWE, it's going to be She-Hulk or one of those.
True, but I mean, they could pop up Arnold Schwarzenegger, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and there'll be a big scandal about how he cheated on his wife, towards the end of his term. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I could bring up or that could be brought up.
Yeah.
So I mean, at one point, it should be buried and forgotten. And I think if McMahon is really letting something like that, because of the mere mention of it, that's silly to me.
Yeah.
And then I guess I read also that Austin claimed that there is no heat with McMahon or the WWE.
Yeah.
Claimed that there was no creative for him at WrestleMania, and that there was no issue of missing a flight or anything like that. He just chose not to go.
He'd
had
make
other
the
things going
comment
on.
that they're both going down separate roads,
Exactly.
and those roads will probably tie up again.
Yeah,
they
and
both
if
have
they-
their own projects going on.
Exactly. If they tie up again, then it'll be, he called it gangbusters. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I could kind of see both sides of it. I really can.
And, WWE is such a weird place. They don't need you till they need you.
Exactly.
Type of thing.
We talked about it last week.
Come 6 months from now when they're getting ready for the WrestleMania card in Texas, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
Stone Cold will be first on their
Oh,
list.
yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And then there was the news that we just got recently.
Yeah.
SmackDown moving to the USA Network in
Yeah,
2016.
and Tough Enough as well as they're gonna air.
okay.
Yeah, Tough Enough is greenlit.
That was another thing actually that ties into the Stone Cold thing,
Yeah.
that people said that he turned down the Tough Enough project. He actually didn't. He wanted to do it. I guess just whatever projects he's working on right now, they couldn't come together.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's
it's
filming
another
like 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it probably keeps
He's-
him busy year round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that, again, I'm not too sure about that. I like the move. I think the move is good.
I never understood SmackDown on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I've actually heard stories. I brought his name up a couple times. Court Bauer, who's an ex-WWE writer, promoter, television guy, he had told stories about he went to pitch something to Sci-Fi Channel, and when they mentioned he wrote for the WWE in the past, he said the executives at Sci-Fi kind of rolled their head and really treated SmackDown as the redheaded stepchild, that they were forced to put this on their programming.
Wow.
Because, I mean, it's all tied into Viacom, NBC. So when they're telling you, you got to. But I never understood how SmackDown fit.
It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
silly. And I don't know if WWE was just looking for a home at the time.
Yeah.
And you would think.
Because they left the CW? Was that
Yeah,
what? Yeah.
it was
And then
CW.
because they were when they had to deal with Spike TV when it was TNN Network and the Raw was broadcasting, it was part of that umbrella. So when they were leaving, they had to figure out a way
to go.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was weird because McMahon's been on the USA Network since before I was born or when I was born. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Basically is what I'm trying to say. And so I don't understand why he couldn't get another hour slot for SmackDown at any other point. A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both got ribbed this week on Chris Jericho's haircut
Yeah,
last week.
yeah. I wondered because it was April 1st, but the photo looked so real.
I thought it was I thought it was real until we
Yeah.
saw the podcast.
I still think it was real, but it must have been old. or something.
Sometime, I don't know, his locks, they weren't as long as they used to be, but they were boy band long. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, boy band. Yeah, he has the boy band look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his scarf and everything on the podcast was seen on Monday night, the 6th. But yeah, so we both got spoofed on that one. And then there was the
I want to go on the Raw viewership being down 26% on Monday
that's-
Night's Raw. It's pretty big, but it is from a WrestleMania hangover. You got a lot of more eyes during WrestleMania season than you do normally.
Totally
Yeah.
what it was. I'm surprised. That's a huge drop.
Yeah, they still had over
That's
4 million viewers. So, I mean, compared to the days of the Attitude Era when they were pulling in like 12, 11 million.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a world difference. But yeah, that's interesting. They did add Bad News Barrett versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title at Extreme Rules.
That'd be
Did want
good.
to point that out.
Then SmackDown is it Barrett and Sheamus
Versus the Lily-Livered Runts, the team of, according to Sheamus, the team of Dolph Ziggler and Intercontinental Champion Daniel Bryan. So I haven't got the results for SmackDown just yet because our show is fresh off Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks because I like having the results for that. But whatever. Well, it'll be a good show, I'm sure. Just because of that tag match alone, it should be kind of good.
Yeah,
Plus, you had
definitely.
mentioned you wanted to see that alliance, Sheamus. And
Yeah,
Bad News.
I said I don't want to see them as a full-time team, but I think the two of them teaming up together is
will be a pretty good heel.
affiliation.
Yeah, affiliation.
Yeah.
It will be.
And then Scott Hall had some troubles. He accidentally tweeted out some Skype photos, which is hilarious to me because Scott Hall he doesn't know the internet at all. You know, he's starting to learn all of it.
Yeah.
And so I can very easily see him tweeting things that he probably shouldn't. I guess he was having some scantily clad women Skype with him, and he decided to take some still grabs of the women and accidentally tweeted them out. They were torn down immediately after he posted them. But Scott Hall, some things never change.
Some things never change. I actually got a funny story about his tweets this week. It had nothing to do with that. It had a fan asked him why the NWO would help Sting after the NWO attacked him, and vice versa for so many years in WCW. And his comment was, "No comment. ... $$$$$$$$." So that was pretty funny.
And then in related news, Kevin Nash was actually reading that tweet and he tore a quad while he was reading.
We love Kevin Nash. We're just messing with you. We love it.
And then on the other, Rey Mysterio was listening to what we just said, tore a quad. He'll be out 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months. Yeah. And then there was the Sheamus. I just had it on my phone here. Sheamus tweeting about a fan saying that he was wrestling too reckless against Daniel Bryan last week on SmackDown, which resulted in Daniel needing stitches.
Did you see that photo?
That was pretty brutal.
Pretty gnarly.
And they don't know if it was from Sheamus or if it was from the Bullhammer by Bad News. But then Sheamus wrote on his Twitter account that reckless, haha, your idols are spoiled, lily-livered runts, which I loved that one.
You know, that's a word that doesn't get used a lot these days.
Lily-livered?
Yeah, we need to bring that back. Hashtag lily-livered.
We started trend it. And then he wrote, news to me, I thought the PG era stood for Pagan Gladiator Era.
Pagan, huh?
Pagan Gladiator Era. Until told different, I'll continue to smash skulls of lesser men. And we were just saying how that's complete hill, and we love it. And throwing a little bit of he calls his move white noise. So throwing a little bit of white power in there. I don't know.
We're actually off air. We were saying, and I don't want to go too taboo with it, but if it was the Attitude Era, you know, he would be a white supremacist heel. You know.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to note that Roman Reigns' family, I guess, was really upset at the WrestleMania.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
To the point of they were actually going to riot. Uncle Sika.
Yeah,
Uncle Sika was getting ready to tear down the house, and
forgot it was business there for a minute. Yeah,
that it's a business side, and because apparently I read that the Roman Reigns was going to go over, and that the idea for Rollins to cash in was brought up by Vince last minute. I mean, he didn't even know when he fought.
They said Seth Rollins found out about 15 minutes before the match, during the Ronda Rousey segment.
Yeah, he had no idea when he fought Randy Orton that night that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And we touched on it in our WrestleMania show and in the last week is if that was an alternate ending for in case Brock's contract negotiations failed or what happened or whatever. We both liked it. The shock value, the entertainment value was great. What would have happened had Roman Reigns won? Who knows? But his family sure didn't take to him losing.
And they were in there full force, too. They had everybody. Because Rikishi got inducted the night before, so they all came out for that. And aren't they, they're from that area, right?
Yeah, they're from the Bay.
Yeah.
That's where Rikishi kind of got his start. Rikishi fought too. But
keeping it real.
So some of the family, I guess, calmed him down and did kind of reiterate, it's a business deal. And Roman Reigns will definitely have the belt at some point. So that's nothing to be too big about. And you can't always, Bret Hart fans like myself will always know you can't always win in your hometown or country. It just they'll screw you before it happens.
What do you see? What do you see Reigns? What do you see him the program he's going into next? Because I mean, he isn't cooled down completely.
No,
you got to keep him warm.
I like the idea that you brought up with Bray Wyatt. That would be an interesting one. I think that having him involved somehow with the Authority in some way, I'm not really sure how. I mean, other than
I hate to say it, because Big Show's cooled down so much, and you'd almost hate to have him cool down Roman Reigns. Big Show Roman Reigns feud like a decent one, but I mean they've been toying with each other for the past 3 months.
They always have. Yeah, they've had a match on Raw at least the last 3 months, at least once. So I don't know. It's kind of tough to see right now.
He definitely will have the belt at some point, and they like you said, they don't want to cool him down too much, so he's got to stay involved somehow.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe he'll come down and beat the Authority, if they try to interfere in the match at Extreme Rules.
What do you think? We got noticed that Extreme Rules Rusev Cena rematch. How do you see that one going?
Like I said last week, I don't see Cena losing the belt this soon. They like you said, they haven't sold out all the T-shirts yet. Rusev can't afford another loss either. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They either got to integrate someone else into that scheme somehow, some way to cause some type of mischief and break it up, or I don't know. I don't know. I think that match is too soon to happen, honestly.
And I wanted to touch on something. We don't cover a lot of UFC stuff on the show, but I just were reading during break about Rampage Jackson. The court has come back and decided that he is still with Bellator and that he couldn't terminate his own contract the way he decided.
Yeah.
So this Saturday, I guess his main event, the co-main event in the UFC, the fight's off. And now that fight's looking horrible. They've had a couple injuries.
I just read they're talking just canceling that card altogether, which I don't know.
4 days before?
I don't know if that's something that UFC does often, cancel a card
They have,
like that.
they have when,
There's no star
injuries,
and I also read that UFC had no idea that Bellator, the contract was basically Rampage had told them that his contract was null and void at that point.
Yeah, he terminated his own contract because he said Bellator didn't live up to everything that they had put into their contract, and he was able to go. And obviously, UFC, the legal team they have, I'm sure they read it and decided, okay, yeah, he's right, he's within his rights. And I mean, they wouldn't have booked a main event.
Exactly.
Around maybe.
He'll end up fighting that, in court and probably come out on top.
He's no spring chicken though. If you're fighting,
but I mean, his name still. I remember the old Ultimate Fighter on what was it, Spike? I used to watch. It was Rashad Evans
and him,
Rampage versus Team Rampage. Hilarious. I got main event news for my news and rumor here. I don't know if you got some more you want to go over.
No, that's really all I wanted to
My big one was over the WrestleMania weekend, Scott Steiner threatened to
Oh,
kill Hulk Hogan via his wife, Hulk Hogan's wife, at the airport. I told him when Hulk shows up, he's going to kill him. Now, I don't know if it's typical Scott Steiner. A lot of my buddies know.
Did you know the backstory behind that a little bit?
I think it goes back to the TNA issue.
Yeah.
Because they worked in WCW, and I don't know if there was heat there, but I know in TNA, because Hogan was involved in management.
Steiner got released. He went out and started bad-mouthing TNA, bad-mouthing Hogan and Bischoff because, they were very influential during that time. And then TNA put a gag order on him, sued him, and I think there's still a pending lawsuit.
Oh, wow, it's still pending.
Yeah, so...
Holy cow, and Hogan, that was 2010 when they came in.
Yeah, Hogan was all, he was all in that. So, Scott Steiner being Scott Steiner.
And a lot of my boys from California know, and they make fun of Scott Steiner all the time just because of his crazy-ass promos and just the stuff that he says.
I think he lives his gimmick. I heard a story about him assaulting a road construction worker, and it was during the time when I was going to work every day. We had road construction, and there was a few times where I would be the car that got stopped and then you'd be stuck there for 15 minutes while oncoming traffic, and I could just picture Scott Steiner all, intense, getting out, tossing the road construction worker around.
Don't mess with Big Bad Booty Daddy.
Yeah. You had to stop my car. So, I mean,
he's a piece of work, and I don't know what went on behind the scenes in terms of the office, and I know that when they came over to TNA, they changed a lot of stuff that wasn't necessary. That's
I think a lot of those guys, and this is just my opinion, but like you had your Steiner, your Nash, your Booker T, had a cushy job, and then all of a sudden, Hogan, Bischoff, bringing in their buddies, and then you saw them all leave one by one. You saw Nash leave, you saw Booker T leave, you saw Scott Steiner get released. That was easy money for them, working 1 day a month, 2 days a month, making a decent paycheck, and now all of a sudden they're working indie shows. And I heard for Scott Steiner that's not even not like he's not like AJ Styles who can work 1 million indie shows and make a ton of money. He's very selective and
And I just don't know. Like, I've never been a Scott Steiner fan.
Yeah,
never.
There was a time that I saw that he could have been a monster heel, and I don't know if it was just political in the back, but they always seemed to to squash it.
To me, there's some guys that should never leave the tag team ranks. Billy Gunn, Marty Jannetty, and Scott Steiner, for me, is one of those guys that should have never left tag team ranks, or at least went over the TV title or mid-card level, in my opinion. His interviews stink. His wrestling's not all that great. He's got a couple of good suplexes, and he does the camel clutch, calls it Steiner recliner. Other than that, there's just nothing really about him that's that. I mean, I know.
It factor.
Yeah, I mean, he tried his run in WWE, it did not work because he just doesn't.
And he's so injury prone, too.
Yeah, and that's another thing. And even in TNA, he had that constant issue with being injured. So you really couldn't book him in too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's silly to threaten someone.
That was always my favorite in WCW. These guys would get injured, be out for 4 or 5 months, and then come back with an extra 60 pounds of muscle on them, just jacked to the gills. Yeah, like, well, how injured were you really? Yeah. You know?
That was, Buff Bagwell, Steiner. Yeah, I remember those days. But I don't know. I think that's just foolish. What kind of man goes to another man's wife to make the threat?
Yeah, especially she's non-wrestling. Like she
didn't even recognize him, I guess, because she's not really into the business. It's Hogan's newest wife, so she hasn't been in the business like when Hogan's been traveling. So I mean, she really didn't even recognize the guy, and
just some weird bleach blonde,
big old giant.
Yes, say I'm gonna kick your husband's ass.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Any respect that I had left for Steiner at that point is completely gone.
And then, did you see the picture of him in the office?
Oh yeah, at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Do not let this guy in.
Yeah,
I've seen that too, courtesy of Bleacher Report.
Rumors circulating, and I don't know how true. AJ Lee pregnant.
Yeah, I seen that too. And then they showed
her and Bailey.
Kind of holding her tummy or whatever.
But that was the WrestleMania weekend, and I've always heard that they're on no way ever that if you were pregnant, WWE would let you even step in a ring.
Nah, and they said, oh, well, that's why she wasn't in the match most of the time. Well, she wouldn't have been involved.
She wouldn't have fell off the way she did or anything.
It's just goofy stuff.
Such a liability risk.
Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. And yes, I did say tummy a while ago. Okay, I'm a father of 4. I can say tummy. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's another. We talked about CM Punk and AJ doing those weird tweets and things like that. I think that to me is just another one of those off the wall type of things.
Okay. All right. We got anything else, or
that's pretty much it. Slow week.
Yeah, it was. We want to just thank everyone. For those of you watching us online, please be sure to like, subscribe. You know, our WrestleMania video is still getting a ton of views.
That's great. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, it's going over. For those of you, like I said, online, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. For those watching us on BST TV Channel 11, we thank you, and we want to thank you for welcoming us to the lineup. And please be sure to stay tuned for Anarchy Pro Wrestling, which is coming up next, and we will see you next week. You guys have a good one. See ya.